New York, New York. Home to America's biggest buildings, its largest transit system, and the highest concentration of billionaires anywhere in the world.
Here, money runs everything.
Down on the ground, the city is bursting at the seams with a relentless entrepreneurialism. Whether it's multi-million-dollar boardroom brawls, bidding wars on exclusive apartments, or just hustling to pay the ever-rising rent. But high above it all lies a market that's hidden in the clouds, one that doesn't really adhere to the standard rules of real estate or engineering.
Welcome to Billionaires Row.
Home to some of the most tall and slender buildings in the world.
9-figure deals, pencil-thin towers, and cutthroat brokers. New York's Billionaires Row is construction at its most extreme.
These insane skyscrapers are what you get when you combine super small plots of land, restrictive zoning laws, amazing engineering advancements, money, and sheer willpower. They break almost every mould and now stand as marvels of modern design.
But even among this new forest of super tall luxury, there's one building that stands out from the rest and creates a genre all on its own. It's not the most eye-catching skyscraper on the block, but its story is unlike any we've told before.
220 Central Park South is really the outlier on the Billionaires Row corridor.
The building that everyone who's a billionaire has to live in.
These are helicopter people. Their feet don't touch the ground.
There was no need for any marketing, and then it just took on a life of its own.
The two most expensive homes to ever sell in the United States have one major thing in common. They were both apartments at 220 Central Park South.
It is the world's most profitable condo building.
220 Central Park South has it all. Developer clashes, insane engineering, extreme wealth, ruthless power, foreign money, and backdoor deals. This is how a little-known skyscraper quietly became the crown jewel of Billionaires Row. The skyscraper made New York. When it was developed, this ancient island was covered in greenery, and if it had stayed low-rise, it probably wouldn't have amounted to much.
But these extraordinary towers have let it continuously increase its area and welcome millions of people and businesses. Each shaped by the powerful economic and geographic context of its time, the city's skyscrapers now stand as silent chapter markers in its ever-evolving story.
At the turn of the 20th century, things were no different. New York's population was booming, and so was its development. That ushered in a new era of construction, one that lured in wealthy residents with luxurious co-ops for sale. Think ornate facades, exclusive amenities, and a cutthroat application process ruled by notoriously stuffy co-op boards. And so began the carousel of New York's It building, a coveted status symbol marked by steel and stone. One of the earliest stood at 834 Fifth Avenue on the Upper East Side. Completed in 1931 and home to Lawrence Rockefeller, it was once described as the most pedigreed building on the snobbiest street in the country's most real estate-obsessed city. Also built in the 30s was 740 Park Avenue, once home to John D. Rockefeller. For nearly a century, these roads right alongside Central Park have been the most coveted corridor in New York City. Then, around the mid-2000s, another building started turning heads. Right across the park stood 15 Central Park West, a two-sectioned asymmetrical tower with a striking limestone facade. Only this one was a condo, not a co-op. That meant buyers no longer needed a legacy name to get their application noticed. A massive bank account was enough to get you in the door. 15 Central Park West drew in CEOs, celebrities, tech executives, and even the daughter of a Russian oligarch who bought the penthouse for $88 million. Then, around the start of the 2010s, something changed. We saw not just one building, but an entire street of skyscrapers become the city's new place to be.
I'm out here on Billionaires Row, the most expensive street in America.
This is what $54.6 million buys you in New York City.
Kicking off with 157 in 2014 and then 432 Park Avenue the following year, this series of super tall skyscrapers lined up along the southern edge of Central Park. Now that's impressive given there are hardly any sites left in this congested corner of what is one of the world's most congested cities. With only small parcels of land available, developers found themselves under pressure to maximise floor area and park views in order to drive a return, a pressure that they passed on down to their engineers. The result was the rise of a whole new architectural style. Meet the super slender skyscraper, an elegant 21st century solution to some very 21st century constraints. Width to height ratios were pushed to the extreme, foundations went to a different league, and super strong concrete cores were paired with stabilisation tricks like dampers and open floors that help manage intense wind loads. This new breed of building is seriously thin. 111W57, the world's thinnest skyscraper, has a width to height ratio of 1:24. Compare that to 1 Madison or 520 Park Avenue, buildings already considered slender, and you get the picture.
Engineers had broken a frontier and a phenomenon emerged. The ability to buy a newly built apartment in a super tall skyscraper with uninterrupted views of Central Park. And the world's wealthiest people snapped them up.
Over the last couple of decades, wealth inequality, particularly in the US, has been widening. Today, the top 1% of Americans own a much bigger share of the total wealth than the middle 40%. And if you zoom out and take a look at the wider world, you'll see that the richest 10% of people control a whopping 76% of the wealth.
Essentially, that means there's now more money in the hands of fewer people, and many of those people are looking to secure and grow their wealth even more by investing in what's long been one of their safest bets: luxury real estate.
The new Billionaires Row that emerged from all this is big, bold, and architecturally impressive. It now dominates the world's most famous skyline and has forever changed the shape of it. But you won't find the most technically challenging and financially successful building in the area among the acres of photos or beautiful drone footage that's afforded to the glass super tools. That's because it was an altogether more secretive affair that emerged on this little site right here.
So this is it. This is
it.
Billionaires Row.
What do you notice about it?
It's just all so thin, isn't it?
Look around you. This is all glassy edifices, flashy, and then you've got this somewhat nondescript building. Besides how skinny it is, there's nothing really that jumps out at you.
Hitan Samtani co-authored the definitive story on 220 Central Park South at The Real Deal. We worked closely with him throughout our research to help us tell this story.
This project is a totem for everything that is decadent and depraved about New York City real estate. It has it all, Fred. I mean, billionaire battles, trench warfare, extreme engineering, class warfare, billionaires sort of vying for each other's properties. It is a level of complexity and narrative intricacy that I've never seen in a project before.
He connected us to Pam Liebman, head of the Corcoran Group, one of the leading real estate brokerages in the country, which oversaw several sales at the property.
I love real estate because it changes every day. You learn something new every day. You probably work more than you would in a regular job, but it's very rewarding, fulfilling, and I just love it.
220 Central Park South got off to a quiet but promising start. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it blew everyone out the water.
4 full floors of a new condo off Central Park for $238 million. That makes it the most expensive home ever sold in the United States.
Illinois' richest man, Ken Griffin.
Ken Griffin coming in at number 1, wealth $35 billion.
Enter Ken Griffin.
Ken Griffin is one of those few people in America who has both the money and the ego to try to shape cities to his will.
This Ken is one of the world's richest men. The Citadel CEO and hedge fund manager is no stranger to extreme wealth and success. But he set a new standard for conspicuous consumption when he walked into 220 Central Park South and bought the most expensive residential property in US history.
Real estate people thought, this is great. This just shows you that people are willing to spend this kind of money in New York City, and this is a building that's really making a statement.
Now, Griffin already owned several high-end properties around the world, but this became the crown jewel of his portfolio. He later went on to buy 2 additional units within the same building. Ken Griffin's purchase put it in a league above even the most exclusive skyscrapers. But hold on a minute, how did this even happen? Well, we're going to find out in episode 2.